Hi, everyone. This is Angela Heath, and welcome back to the summit. We have had the most extraordinary conversations with experts in their field who are willing to tell us how they did it and how you can do it and how I can do it. So it's really very exciting. We have a guest now who's going to really talk to us about this whole side hustle phenomenon that's going on. And we are very fortunate to have an expert. Kathy Kristof is the editor of sidehustle.com, and she'll tell you a little bit more about what that is in a second. But Kathy, thank you so much for participating in the summit.
My pleasure. It's really nice to be with you.
Okay, so let's start this off by giving people a little snapshot of your journey. Sort of how did you start with this area and what are you doing now?
Well, I've always been a consumer and financial reporter. I started, I don't even want to tell you how many years ago, working for the LA Times in the business department and doing all sorts of consumer reporting, investigative reporting, and then moved on to CBS News and all these other places. And in the last, I don't know, half dozen years, I started getting pitched by a lot of these companies that were saying, oh, we have this great flexible way that people can earn money on their own. There, it's like, we're a gig economy company. And they all sounded so good, but there were so many of them and it was so hard to keep track that I started looking for a directory. I wanted to see, like, how do you find out what all you could do, how much you're going to earn, all that other stuff. And what I realized is there was no directory. And so I thought, okay, well, I've got to organize my own notes. And so I started creating my own kind of online directory for all this stuff. But then because it wasn't apparent how much you actually could earn and what some of the terms of the deal were, I started to dig in. And when I start to dig in, I realized that there are great opportunities out there, and there are companies that just lie to you. And they tell you that you're going to make all sorts of money, they're going to make it easy for you, and they put both your time and your assets at risk. And so that's when I decided we had to start sidehustle.com as a sort of consumer reports or wire cutter for these freelance opportunities. And so now we have more than 300 money-making options research reviewed and rated on our site. We give everything a hustle score. That is our summary version of how well this particular opportunity is going to work for the freelancer. So we take into account both the amount you earn per hour, how much risk you take. Do they mitigate that risk in any way by providing, say, insurance for you? What are the working conditions? How much does the platform charge you to participate? All that stuff is we're trying to put together in our hustle score. And so, and there, again, great opportunities and just complete ripoffs.
So you sort of started this out of your own need to organize information.
Yeah,
but
great.
My gosh, this is a big undertaking. So,
it became so. I mean, it started out really, I was not being ambitious when I did this. I just had a little time and I just, it's kind of like creating an electronic file, right? And, but it was really, what really put me over the edge is there were these options where you could take notes. If you're a college student and you wanted to earn some money, you could take notes in class and sell them to these sites. And one of the sites offered $25 every time you uploaded a set of notes. Not a bad deal. I mean, you're going to take notes anyway. Mm-hmm. And then another site that looked exactly the same on the surface gave you 25 points to uploading notes. So of course, journalist that I am, I start digging and I go, what are the points worth? To be fair, they should be worth $1, right? Less than a penny a piece. And for anybody, like what struck me is my kids would look at these two sites and they would think that they were exactly the same, because they wouldn't dig deep enough to find out that those points were worthless. And it made me mad, Angela. It made me think, they're taking advantage of people like my children and my friends who would be in this gig economy wanting to make some extra money. So, yeah, so that's ultimately it. Well, I was inspired by anger. So,
Anger is a beautiful thing if it's used properly.
well, yeah, I mean, I just think you got to play fair. I mean, that's really it. It's just, I wanted these guys to play fair. And because there was nothing out there that really told the truth about what these different options were like, they don't have to play fair. Mm-hmm. I hope that at some point Side Hustle will have the scale that people will go, okay, what do we have to do to get a better rating? And my answer is always going to be the same: play fair,
Right.
Treat people fairly and you're going to do just fine on our site. Yeah.
Kathy, I love so much what you are doing, because when I did my book, Do the Hustle Without the Hassle, I vetted nothing to the extent of what you guys have done, but I did a little light vetting of the various sites. And so the book came out a little over a year ago. And I had like a little over 200, whittled it down to maybe like 180 or something like that, looking at professional sites, meaning, professional services. And seriously, even though I thought we did a pretty good job at determining, the likelihood of something being around, I am just so surprised in less than a year, many of these places are gone.
Yeah.
So for those people who might have got stuck in the middle, like they did, even a longer term contract, and now the company is gone, they probably won't ever get paid.
Well, there's a whole lot of churn that you see in the gig economy, and what obviously you experienced on your own. Companies are starting up and going under every day, and that makes it kind of tough to keep up with. And the other thing that happens is they change their terms. I mean, when we first reviewed Uber, it wasn't a bad option, but then they changed their terms like 15 times, and every single time to the detriment of their drivers. And so now they're poorly rated on our site. And it's a shame to me that so many people drive for them, because really the way to really drive these bad actors out of business is walk away, step away. Yeah.
Right.
They rely on you.
So why do you think so many people are going after these opportunities that really don't pay very well? Why are people kind of stuck in those opportunities? They're huge in terms of the number of folks that are working, with low paid.
Yeah, they are. Well, I'll tell you why: because they advertise and they lie. And so they advertise, hey, you can make $25 an hour or $27 an hour, 22. I mean, I see all of these advertisements that say, how much you could make. They don't tell you that the way they make that claim is to forget about half of your time. So essentially, Uber and Lyft can say, oh, yeah, you can make $25 an hour. Well, technically, if every single moment that you're in the car, you've got a passenger, you could make $25 an hour. But you're not going to have a passenger every moment you're in the car. You're going to spend almost half your time getting to that passenger, and then getting back to find another passenger. And so all that time, they just don't count it. They just act like it doesn't exist. But of course, you are expecting to earn an hourly wage, right? And besides that, you're spending your money on your, car lease or payment, your gas, your insurance, your maintenance. You've got to get car washes, you get snacks, you put water in your car, you have all sorts of expenses. And so when you really boil it down, you're earning much closer to minimum wage. And that is just something that most people don't realize when they get started. And then after they're in there, um, you get caught in the rut because you don't have time to look for another job because you're busy doing this one, just trying to make ends meet. So
Mhm.
it kind of creates a vortex for the people who got involved in these bad side hustles.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, it's not just, the ridership industry. I think, they are highlighted in the news because when you look at the gig economy, ridership is a huge piece of it, along with like delivery services and things like that. And I think oftentimes people don't know about the professional side, professional services side of the gig economy and how they can like really access that. So where are those good paying jobs in the gig economy?
Well, they're all over. There are literally hundreds of them. I was looking at we've got a kind of a spreadsheet to organize our site because again, we have like 300 different platforms rated, and about 100 of them are really great options for people. But whether you can participate or not, particularly with the professional ones, depend on your credential, right? So what we have now on our site is a quiz where you can go to our homepage, click on the quiz button, and you can start answering questions. Do I want to work? Do I want to rent? Do I want to sell? If I want to work, do I feel creative today? Do I feel intellectual? Do I feel physical? I want to do a physical job. And that gives you different paths to go down to find a good side hustle. And the answers in the quiz are all better, average and better than average options for people in all scales, right, on our hustle score. But, I think what some people find intimidating is, let's say I didn't go to college. Let's say I don't have a marketing degree. Let's say I feel like, what I got is my car, and I don't have specific skills, and I'm worried about that. Well, I did a blog post on random side hustles that anybody can do, and they're just, they're crazy things. You can charge scooters for Bird or Lime, and they'll pay you $5 for each scooter that you charge overnight, at least $5 to $20, right? And so basically, the time that is required from you is picking up those scooters, and then you take them home, you plug them in, and then you go watch TV or do whatever else you're going to do all night, and then you bring them back. And so in an hour, because you can take as many as 10 per night, and that's going to give you a minimum of $50 per night, and it takes you about an hour of your work, right? It's still overnight. There's stuff like watching dogs or walking dogs for Rover. Great site. You set your pay. You decide when you're going to take the animals, when you're going to, make yourself available, and you can easily make $30 an hour. Not half bad for, at least if you're an animal lover like me. Kind of fun, right? I'm trying to think there. Oh gosh, I'm trying to. Oh, there's. You can work in warehouses. You can work in restaurants. You can drive kids to and from school and activities, and that makes about $25 an hour. You still have the expense of your car, but assuming that you're doing it in your local area, it's very different than driving for Uber or Lyft, where you might have some drunk co-ed who throws up all over your car. No, you got a little kid in your car, and the big thing that you have to qualify is they background check you, which I think reasonable, right? There are also incredible opportunities to rent your stuff. I mean, the opportunities are all over the place. I mean, like I said, all I can suggest, Angela, is people come to our site, take the quiz, see what you want to do, and then, the world's your oyster.
The other thing, Kathy, that I think people are not aware of is that, I always say it now, the way things are going, almost any profession, you can find one of these gig sites. I mean, there are like attorney sites, doctor sites. So, highly paid professions, you can find sites that are looking for you to do short-term contracts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we founded a site that does accounting all online, and essentially they're full time. You can work for them 40 hours a week, and you never have to leave your home. You do all of your interviews and everything else by Skype and conference call. Great, a professional opportunity. There's a group called Flex Professionals that finds, marketing, law, accounting, all sorts of professional jobs. There's one called Wave that's specifically looking for vintage. So something uh, something vintage professionals, but and they're looking for people in the insurance, human resources, and accounting fields. They're all over the place. Yeah, I mean, and also something to keep in mind is uh, the secretarial uh, stuff that you give at your executive assistant.
Mm-hmm.
That's now called virtual assisting. And so if you have great organizational skills, or you know how to post on social media, you can update somebody's WordPress site, you can make anywhere from $25 to $100 an hour as a virtual assistant. Just a great flexible job that you can do from home. And those jobs are everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I've kind of found is, and I'm wondering if you sort of find the same, that on a lot of these sites where they're looking for specific skills or something, is you really need to just know how to do the best practices of that particular site. Because I hear people all the time, they'll throw out the name of a site and they'll say, oh, I tried that, I didn't make a dime. And then I go talk to somebody else's, oh my gosh, I've got so much business from that site that I'm now hiring subcontractors. But it's really about knowing how to work on the sites that would, even have your higher rating on sidehustle.com. And I
Yeah.
think that's something sometimes people don't bother to kind of read how the sites work.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not apparent. Like for instance, when we did our review of Fiverr, my initial impression was that, oh, okay, you are listing your services on this site for a relative pittance, $5 to $10 generally per gig. But then I started interviewing people who use the site really successfully, and they said, oh yeah, it's actually a great site. I've got a ton of business from there. But you have to be very careful about how you structure your offer, so that you're really doing $5 worth of work for $5. You don't make it amorphous. Say, like if you're doing voiceover work through Fiverr, you say, I will do 100 words for $5. If you want more than 100 words, you do this, or and I'm going to give you these rates for this. If you want more rights, then you pay this. And so it gives them the ability to expand the original offer into something that is a well-paid job, even though that the site itself kind of encourages bite-sized pieces.
So have you guys sort of found that, I know this area is like mushrooming. Have you kind of found that the sites that score high on your rating system, that there are increasingly more of them? Or are you finding that, as these new sites come on board, there are increasingly lower paying opportunities, or tricking you and not giving you what you think you're going to get? Is
You
it
know,
getting better?
I I think it's about the same, but I think that again, I mean, my big goal with Side Hustle is to help make it better, be a driving force for change, by shining a light into those dark corners. Um, I, I don't think we've been around long enough to actually make that happen, but I believe it's going to happen. I also think, I mean, so we have 300 opportunities on our site, we're just scratching the surface, and I know that. And so every week we add more to the site, and more blog posts telling people, different ideas that they might be able to use to find a side hustle that suits them. We also just find whole new categories. One week, all I did was investigate cuddling as a side hustle. Who knew? $40 an hour to cuddle somebody. Now, you're cuddling a stranger, usually a 50 or 60-year-old man, because those are the people who most need a hug. But, if $40 an hour, I don't know, it's not such a bad deal. And it's, that the stuff they sign is there's no disrobing, there's no, nothing sketch here, or at least that's, what they're saying. But that, who knew that this was a whole, work category, right?
Yeah, that's like, my eyebrows immediately went up because when you said cuddling, I'm thinking cuddling babies.
Oh, yeah, no, babies generally get plenty of cuddles, right? No, it's funny because here I am, I'm researching this as a journalist. I'm also a mom. So, like I'm in my reviews saying, okay, fine. You can make some money here, but take pepper spray and make sure your kids know, or your friends know where you are. Okay. But of course, one Christmas, I gave all the girls in my family little keychain pepper sprays. I just thought, you guys have all gone off to college. You should have this on your keychain.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, oh, Mom.
Remind me again of those three buckets where if you want to work,
we do work, rent, and sell. And so
work, rent, and sell.
Right. And so the sell thing is let's say, you want to sell your sofa. You can buy things and resell them if you want to be sophisticated. Let's just say you got a whole bunch of stuff in your house and closet you want to get rid of, and you don't want to have a garage sale. There are so many options right now where you can sell specific items. Some sites specialize in designer goods, for example. Other sites kind of specialize or are best for big ticket items. I mean, eBay would be a good example of that. I interviewed a reseller who turned a $25 profit into $100,000 worth of inventory by just being very smart and strategic about what he bought and sold and where he listed it and how he shipped it. Anyway, brilliant thing to do. It's one of our blog posts on the site. We sometimes do stories about, like different types of opportunities you have. And sometimes we profile people who just have a really smart way of going after their side hustle that kind of makes them stand out and makes them more successful than your average person.
Now, you also talk about passive income.
Yeah.
I love passive income.
Doesn't everybody love passive income? I love doing things once and then just having it roll more money in all the time, right? I mean, that's the ideal. And that is primarily going to be in our rent category. And so what's amazing to me, because I had no idea when I started researching all these things, is there are so many different ways to rent your stuff. So you can rent your house through Airbnb, which I think everybody knows, right? But you can also rent your house by the hour. And you can rent your house by the hour to photographers, people who want to hold a wedding shower, a bridal shower, people who want to do a movie. So a bunch of different things. And your house is going to earn about $100 an hour, just depending on the house, $50 to $100 an hour. The house, you don't really have to do anything for that. I love that. I did testing it because I thought this is too good to be true, So I signed up at one of these sites, and lo and behold, some producer wants to do a no smoking ad at my house. They, have cast and crew to do this. My house made $1,455 in one 12-hour day. One day.
I'm renting out my house by the
Yeah,
hour.
hello. I didn't even have to change the sheets. Okay, I mean, I like love that. Yeah, and it's this is pretty common. Like I said, we have a half dozen different sites that will do this, and I I know other people because I've recommended to other people as well who have had several instances where one of my girlfriends has rented out her house a couple of different times for 3 day stretches, and she's made $1,500 a day every time she's done it. Not half bad, you know. And that's one way. There's also you can rent out your swimming pool, you can rent out your carpet cleaner, you can rent out your watercraft. I'm trying to think. You can rent out your parking space. Who knew? Um, there's a site that wants to rent your storage space. So you got extra space in your closet or your garage, you can rent that out. Another one that I love is our print on demand services. So, what these do is, let's say you're an artist and you do your drawing and or your painting and color it in. You can upload it to a couple of these sites that do print on demand. And what they'll do is they'll let you choose. Do you want to offer this on t-shirts? Do you want it on coffee mugs? Do you want it on iPhone cases, backpacks, aprons? Tell us what. Here's our range of products. You can decide what you want to offer your art on. You pick those, and every time they sell one, you get a royalty. And so, you've done the work once, and now the money just rolls in as things. And it's not a vast amount of money for each sale, but you don't have to do anything else. You're not making the aprons. You're not making the iPhone cases. You don't have to worry about manufacturing. You just uploaded your art. And so, yeah, that also is kind of a great way to make passive income.
Wow, I love these days. Like some people are like thinking I'm like extremely optimistic or whatever, maybe unrealistically optimistic. And I'm really not. But what I do know is that the days that we're living in now, the things that we can do now, you could not do these things 10 years ago. 10 years ago, most of the things you're talking about, those opportunities didn't even exist. So when the federal government had their furlough, and I saw all of these people and my heart was breaking because I see all of these people, they're, holding up picket signs and all of that. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how much money they could have made if they would have went to a site like yours to
Yeah,
find out what options were available for those, what was it, 3 weeks or something, instead of
long time. Yeah.
being just very angry and being passive about like you have no options. I think we have more options now. Whether or not you can live your life with these options, that's another question. But I love having all of these options available.
Yeah, no, I mean, on a personal level, I think another thing that kind of inspired me to start the site is that I've been working from home since I had my daughter 30 years ago. And so, and I was able to work from home because I had an employer that was very accommodating and flexible. But to me, it was life altering because if I had not been able to do that, I would not have been able to pursue my chosen career because reporting is not a 9 to 5 job. And so you can manage to juggle everything when you can work from home. And I was able to, because I work from home, pick up my kids from school and, and supervise. I still had a nanny. I, still had daycare, but I was there and I was able to participate in a way that I would not have been able to if I were in an office. And I think when you see all of these different side hustles, that's the sort of thing that they allow people to do. They allow people who either want to or have to have a flexible work arrangement to have something that will accommodate them. My niece has got little ones, and she wants to stay home with them for a few years, but she got a degree and advanced education. She's a dietitian, And because of the whole freelance economy, she has a part-time dietitian job that, she works into her schedule. So she doesn't even have a gap in her resume. She still has this thing that, for the people who took time off in the past, you had to explain away those years that you're taking care of your family. Now you have other options too. And it also just, that, the economic struggle of trying to make it on one income in today's world is pretty tough. And sometimes even an extra $100 or $200 a month makes all the difference. And I think it's very, very easy to find opportunities like that. It's actually easy to find opportunities where you can make a lot more. But even if you have very limited time, you can make a couple $100 every month.
Oh, that's great. Now, resources. Share with us, where can we find resources? So certainly, what are we going to find when we go over to sidehustle.com? But any resources you want to share with the
Yeah.
viewers?
Well, certainly for if you want to check out whether a side hustle is good, bad, or indifferent, yeah, absolutely. Come to our site and sign up for our email because we add new opportunities every week. So, the ones that we don't have on there yet, hopefully we're going to get to them soon enough. It also will give you access to our blog every week, which will give you some ideas. Right now, we're doing side hustles from A to Z. So we basically looked for top rated side hustles that represented every letter of the alphabet. And I have to admit to you, we failed. We didn't find any top ratings in X and Y, but all the other 24 letters, we got them. Okay. And we had options even in each of those letters. So that's a resource. And I like to actually steer people to our quiz, because I think that the side hustles that I love and think are really fun and interesting and, well paid, well, they might be ideal for me. I was telling somebody, yeah, I love these because I'm an extrovert who loves to entertain. And so I'm going to lead you to stuff like Eat With or Cozy Meal or something where you're going to have people into your house and you're going to make them meals and you can charge whatever you want. And it's like, yeah. And I'd love to be a tour guide where you take people out and do a foodie tour, do a hiking tour, do a bike tour. That would be so fun. That's me though. Right. And not everybody's the same. My son is, young, buffed and chiseled guy. And so for him, the moving opportunities are better, right? Because he can make 40, $50 an hour, because he's got some serious muscle. Okay. That's, and he doesn't, it's in his free time, he doesn't really want to have to entertain. He's not that extroverted, right? So everybody's going to have their own thing. And our quiz is designed to match your unique combination of interest, skills, and resources with side hustles that will actually just suit you.
Yeah, I love it. I love so much what you're doing. It's so valuable. And I love the fact that you are, shining that spotlight on these various opportunities because, I know you're right. There are some that are deceptive in the way they present themselves. And the one thing that I found, most people do not read. They do not read. So if they go over to one of these sites, do you have any good consumer tips? Once they arrive, how do they kind of approach getting started?
Yeah, the challenge I think for side hustlers is that you're time constrained, right? You're looking for a way to make money in your free time, not like you have an endless amount of time to do all this stuff. Unfortunately, if a site isn't rated on Side Hustle, what I have to tell you need to do is read the terms and conditions. And I know that's telling people you need to read the contract, and nobody ever reads it. We do, but nobody else ever does it. But you know what? There's so much in there, and there are risks that you would not know about. And I'll give you an example. We rate on our site a company called Hire Car. And so it's a way to rent out your car, but instead of just renting it out to tourists, you're renting it out to Uber and Lyft drivers. So the good news on that is it's going to be rented a lot. The bad news is it's going to be driven to death. Well, so to find out whether this is a good deal or a bad deal, we read their terms and conditions, but then we also read the insurance policy that they cover you with. Well, when we read that, it's like, oh my God, the risk that you're taking when you rent out your car through this site is ridiculous because their policy has all these holes in it. So we pan them on our site, but unfortunately started getting comments afterwards from all these people who didn't read our review first and didn't do the reading of the insurance policy and the terms. And in many cases, they lost their $20,000 car because it was in an accident and the company's insurance policy didn't cover them. And again, if you'd done that reading, you would know you were at risk. But if you don't do the reading, bad surprises can happen in this crazy gig world. What's different about the freelance economy and the normal world of work is that the working world is governed by labor laws.
Right.
The freelance economy is governed by contracts. And the terms and conditions of a site is your contract. And so you got to read it. You just got to read it. So anyway, that's the bad news is you got to take that time.
Yeah. And that's just really just very good, a good suggestion because you just don't know. And you're right. Most of the time when you download software, nobody ever reads. They just check, yes, I'll use it. And a lot of times they're asking for everything but your firstborn.
No kidding. Yeah, the privacy policy. See, Facebook is going to change their privacy policy 65 times, right? And by just using the site, you've accepted it, right? When they send you that little thing and it comes up in a little tiny box with, like print that you can't possibly read, even with your glasses, you just like flip through as fast as you can and hit the I agree, right? Yeah, that's what everybody does. That though is what our job is to read that little tiny print.
So guys, you've heard it from Kathy. You've got to go over to this site if you're considering, starting or growing in your side hustle. Maybe you're already using one site and now you want to explore something else. I mean, this is like really gold because you don't have to start from scratch. And clearly, there are, like we say, there are new sites that are coming online like every day because this is just an explosive area of interest. And so maybe you can send Kathy, if you find a site that they haven't covered yet, maybe you can send her an email and let her put it on the list of things to review.
Absolutely. You know what? I put my personal email address on every email I send out to subscribers to our list. And absolutely, you have something that we have not reviewed yet and you want to see it, send it to me. We will put it on our list. The list is extensive. I can't tell you we'll get to it next week, but we'll get to it as fast as we can.
Well, I love what you're doing. You're the consumer reporter of side hustles. You're on the side of the freelancer and the consultant and the coach and the contractor. So we don't get, blindsided by this fast-paced freelance landscape.
That's so.
Kathy, thank you so much for your time and all of your good work and your recommendations. They're really going to help a lot of people to be careful and be profitable in their self-employment journey.
Well, thanks a lot, Angela. It's been delightful chatting with you.
So folks, stay tuned. There is more to know about this self-employment journey, and we've got more experts to help you accelerate, hack, sell, and profit as a self-employed professional. This is Angela Heath. Thanks for watching. Bye.